These are tools that are used to study light. They're used to study balance, and they're used to study energy. Now, when people say, oh, these are energy crystals or these are energy stones, the word energy is such a complex word that means so much that it becomes vague, and thus these crystals become meaningless. What you have to understand is there's nothing magical about these. They're literally just physical structures. This one is kyanite, and so people will say this is good for visualization. Why does this mean that this is good for visualization? Is because it has small, shiny specks of reflective light that makes my eyes pay more attention to what I'm visually seeing. So, also, this has a feeling to it that when I shake it, it looks like something is going up and coming at me. It has a weird optical illusion to it. And it also looks like something is shaking salt or light to it. So now this has just kind of hallucinated me. So now I'm better at visualizing. And it looks like there's a tower. You get lost in these where people use these for a lot of cool meditative purposes. People will say this is rose quartz. This is like a love stone. This means like all types of lovey-dovey, deep emotional meanings. Well, I can't say that, but I can say that this bends the mind between light red and white because it's barely pink. It's barely pink. This would be a white, but this is barely pink. And so when you think of something that's barely pink, you would think of a light hearted situation, like a light bloodstone. This amethyst, people associate this with the third eye chakra, or which you'd have to explain what even is a chakra before anybody could, and then they would have to understand what it is and be able to utilize these things called chakras before you could even really use these. All this is this stimulates a color that is of a higher valued spectrum for visualization in your brain called purple or what would you say, magenta or no, not magenta. It's like a purple, and it reflects light in a way that is beautiful. And so, nothing magical about this for your third eye, except that this reminds the subconscious mind of nighttime, of dreaming. And there is a cool story behind this being a sobriety stone, but it's not something that's going to keep you sober. It's just a literal story about how this looks like wine. This looks like grapes have infused the quartz crystal and stained it with wine, and thus a story about the sobriety crystal got made up. This is calcite. This has a soft talky powder to it that is mixed in with a very rigid, rough type of thing on here that is it's a mix of soft and hard, which is like your bones or your fingernails, which your fingernails are they're hard, but and even as you touch this, light gets drawn to the similar things. So what looks like the stone? My fingernails, because they're dirty, because I do a lot of farm work. But as we're talking about my fingernails being kind of soft but hard, just as this talcum powder calcite is, it blends in like a chameleon. It blends in fully with my fingernails. So these can be used for survival purposes in evolution where humans would touch these and say, yo, I can use this as a tool to focus on camouflaging myself. And so tribes would use these and then they would go and put on face paint or what have you. Now, these are my favorite is the black tourmaline, which I got these so I could hold in each palm. These are black tourmaline. These are the exact opposite of this, which is selenite. These are polar opposites because this one is kind of see-through and it's like white. It's lighter. It's not as dense. It's like a fluid water, which you can do a lot of cool tricks with these and learn a lot from selenite. But the best two crystals that there really are would be black tourmaline because these are the base conscious colors of black and white and something that this absorbs and transfers light, whereas this will reflect it and not let it in at all. So this is all about focusing on your environment, on blending with your environment. This has nothing to do with really weird shit that they have on crystals. It's literally, I understand that my body craves light to survive and to become aware of the environment. So by harnessing the environment, I have better control over it. And that's all that this really is being smart and utilizing the actual environment so that I now blend with the earth more fully, because I am more like the earth, having more light. And this will take your mind away from something to see that there was a cool thing that happened with light, where the light went into something solid, and now you physically have light. You physically have light that you've harnessed, and this makes you question, well, is light matter? Well, is light heavy? Does light have a weight to it? I physically have just harnessed the light from above, so now you can work better with your environment to co-effect with the lighting, and you can try to combine more light spectrums, where you could try to play a game with this, which is better than playing on the phone or on something for a while. But you could try to play a game where you want to harness both of these two lights to come in as one. But as you do it, it's a physically queer like effect, is because you now have different feelings and emotions that come in, and a different response as you try to harness those two spectrums of light. This now changes weight. So now you're playing a game where you're trying to visually harness and balance two things. Now it becomes three things, and this goes on forever, which is this game of trying to harness light. That's all these are really tools for, is game controllers that try to harness light and manipulate the physical environment.